The year is 1910, the monastery of Sant'Elia a Pianici, southern Italy. It is the dead of night. In a small, bare cell no larger than a closet, a young Capuchin friar kneels in prayer. His brown habit is rough against his skin. His rosary beads press into his palms. His eyes are closed. Then, the room changes. A low sound fills the air. Not wind, not an animal, something older, something that recognizes him. The friar opens his eyes. What he sees we cannot fully describe. What we know, from his own letters, from the testimony of those who found him afterward, is that he does not run, he does not hide, he prays harder. By morning, the friar's face bears bruises. His habit is torn. The furniture in his cell has been overturned, and yet he is still there, still kneeling, still praying. His name is Francesco Forgione. The world would come to know him as Padre Pio, and this was not the first time the devil had come for him. It would not be the last. On May 25, 1887, in the humble village of Pietrelcina in southern Italy, a boy was born to Grazio and Maria Giuseppa Forgione. They named him Francesco, after Francis of Assisi, the saint of poverty and surrender. From the very beginning, something was different about this child. His mother would later recall that young Francesco, as a toddler, would stop mid-play and grow still, staring at something no one else could see. He spoke of visions, of the Madonna, of a radiant figure he called the Old Man, whom his spiritual directors would later identify as his guardian angel. He could not remember a time when he did not see these things. At the age of 5, he consecrated himself to God. His family was deeply poor. His father traveled to America twice as a laborer just to fund his son's religious education. But young Francesco possessed something wealth could never manufacture, an unshakable hunger for God. By the time he was 15, his calling was clear. He would become a friar and eventually a battlefield. In 1903, at 16 years old, Francesco Forgione entered the Capuchin novitiate at Morcone. He took the religious name Pio. The Capuchin life was harsh. Long prayers, fasting, labor, silence. For most young men, it was difficult. For Pio, it was barely enough. He fasted beyond what was required. He prayed through the night while others slept. His spiritual director repeatedly ordered him to eat and rest, but his body was already becoming the site of something extraordinary. Padre Pio began experiencing interior conversations with Christ and the Virgin Mary. He also entered deep ecstatic states during prayer, moments where he appeared frozen, completely unaware of the physical world around him. At the same time, his health became mysteriously fragile. He suffered violent fevers so intense that thermometers reportedly broke against his skin. Doctors were baffled, but Padre Pio believed his soul was being prepared through suffering. In 1910, he was ordained a priest. The stigmata were still years away, but the spiritual battles had already begun. September 20th, 1918. Padre Pio is 31 years old. He kneels before a crucifix inside the church at San Giovanni Rotondo. Then something happens. Later, in a letter to his spiritual director, he describes seeing a mysterious figure before him, wounded, bleeding, radiant. When the vision ended, Padre Pio looked down at his hands. The wounds were there, deep wounds in his hands, feet, and side. The wounds of Christ, the stigmata. He tried to hide them, but they bled constantly. Witnesses described a mysterious fragrance of roses flowing from the wounds. Doctors examined him repeatedly. No infection, no natural explanation. For 50 years, the wounds remained open, and through every moment of pain, Padre Pio never treated the stigmata as a badge of honor. To him, it was participation in the suffering of Christ, a painful union with the one he loved most. Padre Pio's story is not only about visions of heaven, it is also about violent encounters with darkness. According to letters and eyewitness testimony from fellow friars, Padre Pio endured terrifying demonic attacks for years. At night, friars heard crashes, screams, and violent blows coming from his room. By morning, they would find him bruised and bleeding. In one letter, Padre Pio wrote, "The voices have been tormenting me. Then they beat me greatly." He called the devil the Ugly One, not because he underestimated evil, but because he refused to fear it. Padre Pio believed the attacks intensified because of the number of souls he was helping through prayer and confession. He once wrote, "He will do anything to get me to stop." But Padre Pio never stopped. Not the prayers, not the masses, not the battle for souls. Alongside suffering came extraordinary spiritual gifts. Thousands claimed Padre Pio could read souls during confession, revealing sins people had never spoken aloud. Many believed he possessed the gift of prophecy. Others testified that he appeared in places far away while physically remaining inside the monastery. This phenomenon became known as bilocation. Miracles of healing surrounded him constantly. The sick recovered. The blind reportedly regained sight. The dying survived after prayers to Padre Pio. Soon, crowds flooded San Giovanni Rotondo. People traveled from around the world for only a few moments in his presence. Something extraordinary was happening there, and the world could not ignore it. Not everyone believed the stories surrounding Padre Pio. The Vatican launched investigations. At one point, he was forbidden from publicly celebrating Mass or speaking publicly. For years, he lived under painful restrictions. Yet he never rebelled, never protested, never attacked the church. Instead, he obeyed in silence. When asked how he endured it, he answered, "The will of God is everything. I suffer, but I obey." Eventually, the investigations ended, the restrictions were lifted, and the church slowly recognized what millions already believed, that Padre Pio was a man of extraordinary holiness. Padre Pio was not only a mystic, he was also a builder of hope. In 1956, he opened a hospital called Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, the House of Relief of Suffering. It became one of the most respected hospitals in Italy. He also founded prayer groups that spread across the world. Padre Pio believed spiritual battles should never be fought alone. Then came the final days. On September 22, 1968, he celebrated Mass for the last time. After 50 years, the stigmata disappeared completely. No scars remained. The next morning, whispering the names of Jesus and Mary, Padre Pio died at the age of 81. In 2002, Pope John Paul II declared him a saint before hundreds of thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square. You may be fighting a battle right now. Maybe no one else can see it. Maybe it feels like fear, heaviness, confusion, or darkness pressing against your life. Padre Pio's story reminds us that spiritual battles are real, but so is God's power. His life was proof that a soul completely surrendered to God cannot ultimately be defeated. This is why his most famous words still echo across the world today. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Not because suffering is imaginary, but because God is greater than the battle. Padre Pio, pray for us. If this story moved you, leave your prayer request in the comments below. Subscribe to Saintly Chronicles for more powerful stories of faith, miracles, and spiritual battles. God bless you.